launch down on the pad, all the way at the end of the beach, in the far distance. I think there are 3 of them, looks like. But we also have some sea turn action. We'll wait 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll get started. What's the weather like in Maine right now, you crazy Russian? Yes, I think they're probably getting the pumpkin spice out. Here I am. I realized I wasn't showing myself, just a pretty view, but I'm really here. So it's Phil. See, Phil's there. Forgive my squinty eyes. It is what it is. We decided to do 6 o'clock because there was going to be a rocket launch. We got scrubbed until tomorrow night. Oh, Luda says, do not call me Ukrainian, is what she says. I can understand that. Do you think your president has gotten divorced yet? I'm just, I'm still waiting for it. This is using the mic. I don't know, does that make better sound? Oh, the sound is, okay, is the sound better now? Or is that because Maine has such terrible internet connections? We are at Canaveral National Seashore, we're not really in the high Wi-Fi range. Oh, great. Okay, better with the mic. Thanks, Luda. So Luda is saying much better, so we'll use the mic. This is how we'll do it. Gives me something to do. Yeah, but I'll do that when it's... We're just going to give it a couple more minutes. This inner Latina, I can't be late for everything, so I had to be early today. I could take you for a little walkabout here. I don't want to go too far, only because who knows where I'll lose the internet. So the park has all these signs around, and so when you come to Canaveral, you get, lots of education and signs. This is talking about our sea beans. That even come from Calabria, if we got Calabria people on. I don't think they come to Maine. We send them to Maine. But, so this is the view. Our seas are still quite rough from various storms that are out there, and the tides are continuing high. You can see the rack line, it's all the way up. Here's a little sandpiper. Okay, let's Hey Heather, another Galera person, yay! Thanks for joining. It's going to be fun. I could let you, we started just a few minutes early. We haven't done introductions yet, but I will let you know that here in the Canava National Seashore, we do have 5 beach ramp parking areas. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Our parking lot area 5 is known for, get ready for it, nude sunbathing. Believe it or not, there is a loophole in federal law that does not say nudity is not allowed on federal property. So, really, Fetterman could come naked to Congress. Heck with that dress code. So, just so you know, there was a naked guy down here earlier, but I don't think we're going to have any nudity today. We're going to try to avoid that so Facebook does not ban me on my first attempt at this. So, it's basically, I think we've got a couple people watching, and people will join us as they come in. I hope the sound is okay. We are using a mic. The wind is quite nice. It's actually about 11 miles per hour out of the northwest-east, and so it's blowing here at the seashore. But, as all of you know, I am Laurie Knowlton, and I'm here today with Neil, who I'll introduce in a couple of minutes. We are both volunteers here at Canaveral, and I actually met Neil last winter. Phil and I went to a presentation he was giving in our visitor center, and I just was amazed at the wealth of knowledge, fun, engaging way of sharing it. I just really liked Neil, and got to know him a little bit better, and somehow he sucked me into volunteering myself at Canaveral, and he's the reason my life improves so much, and why I'm at the visitor center on Sunday afternoons. Oh yes, well, I guess we do have some nudity set up. We're going to change the camera angle. Kids, zoom in while you can. Oh, Dawn, Heather, I can't give you nudity the whole time. Woo, okay. All right. That was a good introduction. Hey, I can call in those naked men. Okay. So, at any rate, as most of you know, my health is kind of tanked pretty badly, even more so. And while I did manage to finally graduate, and I am now a Florida Master Naturalist, I really need to think about how I'm going to continue sharing in the event that I get bedridden again or can't get out and about much more. And then I started thinking, oh my gosh, there's a whole market out there for nature education and video for people that can't get out of the house, can't get to Canaveral National Seashore, can't get to our jetty in New Smyrna Beach, can't go alligator watching at Merritt Island. And so the concept of bringing videos to people that are homebound or not here for any reason started. And then we also absolutely love the concept of educating the younger crowd, the homeschoolers. We have a wonderful junior ranger program here at the seashore, turning younger kids on to nature and all the fun things that you can do with nature. So we're here. This is going to be a test run. We'll see how it goes. But our plan is to actually do this weekly from various locations that we'll be picking. We will be picking a day and time. It will be the same day and time every week. And please bring questions, ask questions. You know, both Neil and I can talk forever, but you guys don't want to hear us talk. Don't you want to see nature and get your questions answered? So, hey, Slandsburg, ¿cómo está? Yeah, Calabrian contingent. Yay, I love it, I love it, I love it. Whoa, we just had, I don't know if you could see, the tide is extremely high and the waves just broke up over the ramp. Hey, you never know when Laurie's going to be on camera. So, let's talk about Neil and get this show on the road. I have notes written so I don't mess this up. Because he's a really important guy in my life. He's really encouraged me, and it's been wonderful getting to know him. So he is a fellow volunteer, field biologist, and environmental educator at CANA National Seashore. And as I already mentioned, and you'll find out today, is an engaging and highly knowledgeable educator. Born in Reno, he lived overseas in Germany as well as this area. He now lives in Bethune Beach, which is just down the road. His dad was a tech rep engineer for Lockheed Martin, and Neil fell in love with the natural world at an early age. Neil's had many great jobs, such as ski, windsurfing, and even whitewater kayaking instructor. But his true passion has been in education and nature interpretation. For 15 years, he led natural history expeditions on small 75 to 100 passenger cruise ships to destinations stretching from Antarctica all the way to the Arctic. Asia and Africa never got passport stamps. Maybe someday he'll tell us why. He has been here at Canaveral for 15 years, 3 years as an interpretive ranger. He is interested in any part of the natural world, but his expertise and passion are in marine mammals, seabirds, plankton, and ecosystems. And with that, I'm going to give the mic over to Neil so he can get started. Say one more thing. He wants us to concentrate on the natural world, so he is not going to be on the camera. So I will show a little bit of him, just so you can get a feel for what he's doing. But then we'll be looking at what he sees and talks about.
Thank you, Laurie. Again, as Laurie mentioned, my name's Neil Folsom, and here at Canaveral National Seashore. And the first thing I really want to say is welcome to this. This is all sort of an experiment. We've never done this before. We want to see how it works. I'm a little concerned right now with the wind and how the voice is coming across. I'm not getting all the wind static. So if you're getting that, let us know. We'll try to work on that. But we are out of here live. We have what we have. That's part of what nature is. If you see me looking around, I always look around because you never know what's going to pop up. Right now we're at what we call the Apollo district of Canaveral National Seashore, and that's the northern part of the park by New Smyrna Beach, if you know where that is. The park itself is 24 miles long, and we're about 6.5, just about 7 miles into the park from the north. And I think you had a view of off in the distance the launch pads of Kennedy Space Center and also Canaveral National Seashore. Oh, there it goes. Never mind. Canaveral Air Force Base, and that's where the launch today was going to be. Was at the Canaveral Air Force Base, and they're right next to each other, so you can more or less consider it the same thing. And that is about 27 miles from where we are right now. I think the launch is going to be trying to go for tomorrow. But if you sort of have a view of the sky and all of that, you'll notice that the weather isn't ideal for any of that. It's supposed to be a little bit better tomorrow, but we'll see how that is. Actually, something you may may not know, the reason why we have a park here is because of the space program. In a roundabout way, we could thank Russia for that. When Sputnik went off in 1957, that started the space race, and we decided to get into it and had to come up with a place to launch the rockets and everything. At that time, this was a very remote area of Florida, and so it was decided to use the facilities at Cape Canaveral, and originally that was called Cape Canaveral Space Center, and then later changed to Kennedy Space Center. And then they acquired a lot of land around that area as a buffer, and where we are right now, 27 miles away from the launch pad, is still owned by NASA. The vast majority of the national park is owned by NASA, and National Park Service will be operating this park on their behalf, and another entity, again federal, and that would be the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge, that they will run that area of Kennedy Space Center, again, for the benefit of the public. So a huge area that is untouched by man, except for the Space Center, of course, but right now we have 24 miles of empty beach. The only thing you'll find on it are parking lots. We'll have 6 of it in the district of Apollo, 5 parking lots for the public, 1 for administration, and that is for the 6 miles of road that we have. And if you look to where the camera is pointing at, well, we're looking down at foam right now. What is ocean foam, by the way? Think about that for a minute. We see it every day if you're out on the beach, especially when it's a little bit rough like it is today. But what is ocean foam? But if you look towards our right down the beach, you'll see, again, pretty much nothing but dunes, sand, water. And we have 12 miles of wilderness beach with nothing else. And then you get to Playa Linda District, which is another 6 miles of road. And then that runs right into Kennedy Space Center. By the way, Laurie mentioned this, but I'll mention it again. We really, really, really appreciate it if you ask questions. We're all here for you. We're not here for us. We've been here. We spend a lot of time out here on the beach. This is all about what you guys want to do, and the only way we know what you want to do is by asking questions. The only really dumb question that you could ever think about is a question that you don't ask. That was a pair of willets flying by. That's one of our year-round resident shorebirds. We have other birds that come here for a specific time of the year. Right now is the beginning of the winter migration. And we'll talk about migration in a little bit. If I forget to talk about migration, definitely let me know and we'll get back to it. So sea foam, any guesses there? I guess you have the ability to type in an answer. So type away. What do you think sea foam is? I'll give you a little bit of time to ponder that. And again, no bad answers or anything like that. Just sort of think about it and engage your mind. And
I have to just greet Randy. BFF has joined the room. Okay, go ahead. Okay,
is that a private joke I should know about? Okay, so that was Randy, is that right? Randy. Okay, expect great things from you, Randy. So, Randy, what is sea foam? Put you on the spot right away. And while we're looking at it, let's take a look just at the sand. Okay, look straight down, and this is a type of sand that is fairly unique to Canaveral National Seashore. This is known as coquina sand. Okay, so foam. Basically, you have dead things out in the ocean, and they're going to be rotting away. And when they rot away, they break down into different chemicals and compounds. And some of that will be like phosphates and nitrogen.
We have an answer: agitated seawater.
Aha, that sounds like a great answer.
That came from Dawn, though, not Randy.
Okay, so Randy's still on the spot. Okay, so Dawn, agitated seawater. And that's a really good answer because it's sort of like an agitator in your washing machine. And a lot of, soap that you use, a detergent, especially 20, 30 years ago, had a lot of phosphate in it. And so when you churn up phosphate and nitrates, you get this foam. And so in particular, that's the type of water that's agitated. And basically, it's rotting material. It could be a leaf. It could be a branch. It could be a dead fish. It could be a dead bird. It could be a rotting carcass of a right whale. All sorts of things. So that is what the foam is. Now, right now, the high tide is a little bit higher than normal, not because of the moon or anything like that. It's because we have probably a 10 to 15 mile an hour wind coming from the northeast. Everyone will look at the ocean. You'll think that east is directly across from where you're looking at, like 90 degrees to the beach. Well, that's wrong. Okay, we're looking at the pads again. And what we're looking at now are the launch pads at Kennedy Space Center. And then about 7 miles past that, a little bit too cloudy to see that, but that's where the Canaveral Air Force or NASA Space Force Base would be. And again, that launch was going to be from Canaveral Space Force Base, though we do also, of course, have launches from Kennedy. If you ever have a chance to come down and take a look, go ahead and contact Laurie and myself, and we can sort of tell you where to go to get great views and avoid the traffic and all that sort of stuff. So the offer is always out there. Actually, the offer is out there for any questions that you have on anything whatsoever. For instance, if you have a particular love in looking at whales in the wild, well, I spent about 15 years doing that all around the world. And if you want to have that opportunity, let me know, and I'll try to help you out as much as I can. So always feel free to, ask anything about anything for that matter. If we know the answer, we'll let you know. If we don't know the answer, we'll say, well, that's a great question, and we'll go look it up and find out together. So again, really encourage you to ask questions. So we already talked a little bit about the foam. Again, I'm turning around a little bit, so let me know if the wind gets too much into the microphone. So we have a coquina sand, and if you look really closely at it, maybe we can walk over here and see if we get a closer view of it. Okay, we're by the dune area here, and if we hold the camera out there, we really don't have a good zoom, but let's see if we get down into it. But you'll see that the sand is made up of broken up shell debris, and that's primarily a shell known as coquina, and that's a bivalve, sort of like a periwinkle if you know what they are, but they're about the size of your thumb. And then they were broken up, and then over time they were mixed with different types of sand and dirt and other chemicals, including calcium and carbonates, and all of that put together under pressure formed a rock. And this rock is known as coquina, and actually when the Spanish came here, they built some of the forts that you know of from St. Augustine and other areas. They built that out of coquina rock because, first of all, really easy to cut if you keep it wet, and then also really sturdy, and they would survive impact from a cannonball. So a great rock for that. Now, most of this sand actually came from a rock formation which is offshore. That's known as the Anastasia Formation, and it goes from this area here all the way up to Georgia. And it's a rock formation. Most of it is underwater, but parts of it will go ashore, and you can see it on land. Right here is probably about 20 miles offshore. But that rock, that coquina rock, will be eroded by the wave action and then bring in the sand here. And here you have it. If you've been to Daytona Beach, which is only about 18 miles from here north, then they really don't have that much of the coquina sand. They have more of a different type of sand that came down from Maine, New Hampshire. That area is more of a granite sand. And also in that area, they do a lot of beach renourishment because they actually drive on the beach, which is pretty unique. And what they'll do when they don't have enough sand on the beach, they'll actually pump sand from the lagoon, which is nearby, and then put it out on the beach so it's easier to drive.
Who do you think lives down in this hole right here?
Let's see, down in that hole. That could be a number of different things. It could be originally from a ghost crab, but it looks a little bit bigger. It could be a snake, actually. We have indigo snakes that hang out on the dunes. They're more likely to be more in the vegetation, the sea oats and the railroad vines and all of that, but it's not out of the question that they could be in there. We also have a beach mouse, an endangered beach mouse. It's only found here, nowhere else in the world, and they do have little burrows also. Not very likely here, again, more in the dunes where the vegetation is, and maybe, okay, you're taking a look at that right now. You'll have the sea oats, that's the grass that we have here with spikes in the vegetation, and then we have a vine here, which is a type of morning glory. We call it a railroad vine, and I see one lone purple flower. Maybe some other places we might see more of a purple flower. Very dramatic, very beautiful. We also have what we call the saw palmetto. We really don't see any right here. Off in the distance there's a patch of it, and then to the left of it with a really big leaf, larger than the size of your hand, that would be the wild plum. And again, these are all plants that are tolerant of the salt air. They stabilize the dune, and if you look at the dune formation off in the distance, you'll see it's a fairly steep slope here. It's a very high impact active beach, and then on the back side, we'll walk the ramp a little bit later so you can look at the lagoon and the back side of the dune. It's more of a gradual decline back to level land. So the dunes are fantastic at protecting the lagoon on the backside and this whole habitat, and just a really great defense mechanism against hurricanes and all different types of storms and everything. Now we do have development outside of the park. We have a whole stretch of beach at New Smyrna Beach, Bethune Beach, Daytona Beach. And actually, it's more or less a continuous stretch of houses and condos and restaurants and stores and everything. Pretty much for the entire coast of Florida, except for here, the 24 miles we have here, then the Kennedy Space Center, and then again, we're back to condos and hotels and stuff like that. And by the way, I'm not anti-condos or anything like that. I happen to live on one on the beach, so I'm just here, really a fan of multiple uses, and it's really nice to have a beach like this. The only other beach that would be comparable in the east coast of Florida would be the Archie Carr National Wildlife Refuge down by Melbourne, and that's also a really fantastic area. So, questions.
And I want to greet, literally, my oldest friend in my entire life. Jay-Z's here. Yay, Jay-Z. Thank you for being here. I love you.
Okay, welcome here, JC. So fantastic that you are here. And if you have any questions on anything, again, let us know. Now, I mentioned on the dune area we have the beach mouse. They're highly endangered. Again, only place in the world where we have them. There are other species of
pelicans.
Okay, we've got pelicans flying. Missing it now. They're gone. Actually, we have pelicans that stay here year-round. Now I'm facing into the wind a little bit. Is the sound still okay? Someone say yes, no.
I love you too. The only person that I allow to call me Laura.
No, I guess I'm not allowed to. Okay, noted. Pelicans we have here year-round, but we also will be starting to have thousands of pelicans migrating down from the East Coast. They'll be coming down here. And I was talking the other day to a friend of mine, and we were talking about the pelicans and the formations that they fly in. So I think all of us are familiar with the V formation, like geese and ducks and stuff like that will be flying. And pelicans will do that also. But they do a really interesting formation called a J formation, where you have one arm which is going to be longer, and then the opposite arm will be shorter. And I've really been looking at why do they do that, and really looked all over the internet for the last couple of days, and I have really not found a really good answer to that. So if any of you out there have a thought on why that might be, go ahead, pass that on. I have my own thoughts, and actually I'm sort of thinking about how to do a research project to sort of verify what my thought or theory or hypothesis would be on why they might do that. But some other animals that will be hanging out in the vegetation of the dunes. I mentioned the beach mouse. Also another endangered animal is the gopher tortoise. They're out here in Florida, and really a fantastic animal. Maybe when we're driving out of the park, we'll have a chance to see one along the side of the road, and then we'll take a look at that. But they will dig a burrow out in the dunes. They can have several burrows that they will be using, and they could be about 10, 20 feet in length, and they could go down about 10, 15 feet underground. And so that's more of a controlled habitat on a really, really hot day or a really, really cold day. That temperatures could be more of a consistent, and a lot of other animals will use that. The indigo snake, also endangered, will be using the dunes. We also have a bobcat. And we have an interesting little member of the cat family, and that's known as a jaguarundi. Go ahead, Google that so you can take a picture of it. And they are not native to this area. Most people think that in the 60s they were brought here along the highways. People were using the car to travel a lot on vacation, and people were setting up what we call roadside attractions. And they were like little zoos with alligators and exotic birds and stuff like that. Just something to entice people to stop on the road and spend some money, some time, maybe a small restaurant or something like that. And they were all up and down US 1, which is about 4 or 5 miles to the west of us. But when the interstates came in another 10 miles inland, then all of the road traffic went to the interstates, and all of the roadside attractions closed down. And a lot of them that had exotic animals, they just let them go. And I think a roadside attraction near here had jaguarundis in them, and now they're out here in park and they're doing quite well. So I might take a look on Google and have a picture of them just so you know what we're looking at. And other animals, you have a lot of insects, of course, spiders and ants and all sorts of things out here in this dune habitat. So really important, not only for stabilization and protection from the ocean, but as a unique habitat. When you look at a place like Canaveral National Seashore, then you're talking ocean habitat, you're talking beach habitat, you're talking dune habitat, and then you're talking barrier island. We are on an island. And then on the other side of the island is a lagoon. It's part of, it's part of the Indian River Lagoon, which is about 156 miles long. And the part of the water that is here is known as Mosquito Lagoon. And again, actually, you could Google that too and have a map and get an idea of what we're looking at.
You can walk down there afterwards.
Yeah, we'll go down there afterwards, and actually sometime or another we'll show you a picture of a map of the whole area, and then you can see sort of what we're talking about. Again, this is the first time we've ever done this, so we're still learning, and it is in our mind. Yeah, Neil, map. That would have been a really great idea to show you what we're talking about, but we'll get to that. There's always a time for that. Then if you have any suggestions on what you want to hear, what you want to listen to, what you want to learn about, any questions that you have, again, don't be shy. Let us know what they are. So, Mike.
Talk a little bit about riptides, riptides.
Okay, riptides. If you're, and this is good anywhere in the world. If you're out in the ocean, well, the sign will pretty much tell you the whole thing. You really don't want to fight it. You're going to have a hard time fighting. If you're caught in it, it's going to be sucking you out in the ocean. But after about a quarter mile or so, it's can put you out on one side or the other, and then you can swim parallel to the beach until you're out of the current, and then drift back into it. On a day like today, if you're looking at the ocean, this is not a day to go out in the ocean unless you're a really strong swimmer. That ocean current and the wave action is a lot stronger than you may think. So unless you're a really strong swimmer, it's not a time to go out into the ocean. Now the little bird you have here, and again we don't have a zoom. That's something we're thinking about doing, is getting a camera that could stream live, that has a good zoom on it, so you could get a close-up view of it.
Anybody have $1 million?
Well, not quite $1 million, but we'll work out something like that, where if you want to contribute so that we can enhance the experience for everyone, then we'll certainly establish an avenue where you can do that if you want. Now, if we do that, I do want to stress that it's not even expected, required, necessary, or anything like that. This is all about learning as you can, and don't think that you're expected to contribute to something like that. But if you have the means to do so, then we'll certainly appreciate that, and then use it for stream enhancement. But that little bird that was bobbing around there, that's a turnstone. The particular type of turnstone was a ruddy turnstone, and you can sort of ID them even with a bad camera, but no zoom on it, because you can look at the head and they sort of bob back and forth like a pigeon. So if you see that, then that would be the ruddy turnstone. We have another little guy that's sort of running with all legs and all of that, and that would be a sanderling. And then we have a little bit larger one with big long legs, and that would be a willet. Okay, and the turnstone, the willet, and the sanderlings are here year-round. Now, something we'll talk about in the future, because it's really not happening right now, but something I want to do in the future is when it's in the season for it, I want to take you out on a survey where we're surveying nesting Wilson plovers. This beach here is one of the most significant beaches for the nesting Wilson plover in Florida, and I've been doing surveys of that for the last 8 or 9 years. So one day or another, I'd like to take you out on an ATV and show you how we do that, and what a plover nest looks like, and what the birds look like, and all of that. That season just ended a couple of weeks ago. We had I think we had 35 nests in Canaveral National Seashore. The other thing that I want to take you out one day is a survey for sea turtles. We do that at night, so we have to do that with an infrared camera, but we have that technology now, and we have the ability to live stream. Turtle season is pretty much from May, and we're at the very end of it right now. But we have 3 different types of sea turtles that will come and nest on the beach here, or 3 primary at least. We have some oddballs that come in once in a while too. But the primary ones are the leatherback. Leatherback are the largest sea turtles in the world. They could get up to about 8 feet in length. They're also some of the great divers of the turtle kingdom. They could dive to depths greater than a mile. And one of the things that they have where they are able to do that is it's not a hard shell like other sea turtles. It's more of a soft shell that will compress under pressure. And we'll have a whole program one of these days on sea turtles, and we'll have pictures and videos and all of that. But while we're on the beach, just to let you know that along with the leatherback, we had about 22 of them nests this year. We also had the loggerhead sea turtle, and we were a bit over 6,000 of them, and then also the green, and I think we're a little bit over 14,000 of them. And this year was a record year. We still have a few coming in. It wouldn't surprise me if we have over 17,000 sea turtles nesting this year. To put that in perspective, maybe 20 years ago, we were really lucky if we had 2,000. So sea turtles are definitely a success story, and Laurie is biting her tongue. She wants to say something. All those in favor of her having the microphone, type in 1. All those that don't want to hear her, type in 2.
Hey Jeff, Channel 7, flashbacks here. I am at a nudist beach. I'll give you guys a quick little flip. Here we go. There you go. There's a quick flip. But hey Jeff, thanks for joining. I think we're gonna, why don't we walk them down to Mosquito Lagoon? I can talk and walk and meet you guys down over there.
Okay.
Does that sound? Does that sound okay? I'll walk down to Mosquito Lagoon, and then you'll meet me down there with the car and stuff. You can pack up. Okay. Okay. So you got me now, kids. You don't want me. The boys are going to pack up. So we had increased. You guys came in late. So here's the situation at Canaveral National Seashore. There's a loophole in our federal laws which allows nudity. And so what the park has done is there's an area at the beach that is for where clothing is optional. And we happen to be, because I had the best view, the clothing option, not clothing views, landscape views, and rocket views. We happened to be at the clothing optional area, and there were a few showing up, and I'm pretty sure Facebook does not want nudity on live streaming. So what we're doing here, we are on a barrier island, and so I am walking down to the Mosquito Lagoon. That's what you're looking at right now. And the Mosquito Lagoon is just an incredible body of water. When Phil and I found New Smyrna Beach, of course, Kevin didn't tell us anything about the Mosquito Lagoon, but what an incredible place this is for everything from juvenile bull sharks grow up here. We happen to have, we're looking straight at where they're currently been nesting, a flock of flamingos that have shown up. They blew in with the hurricane. But we have, there's spoil islands throughout. There is camping at Canaveral on the islands. It's backcountry camping. But you can see, this is the lagoon. And all the oyster shells that come in here. But here's the lagoon. You see, the rain is. Thanks for being here. So, yeah, we're gonna have rain, but hoping for, at least for a fun sunset. Maybe dolphins will come by and manatees. I don't have my water shoes on. I could go in the water, and I was down here the other day, and there were jellyfish floating, comb jellies, and this is a big area for horseshoe crabs also. The horseshoe crabs will come in here and mate and lay their eggs right here. Here comes Neil. He has made it. So now, and hopefully the sound will be better over here because we don't have the wind blowing. Something is running right out here, Neil. I don't know if you guys. I'm going to give Neil back the mic because he has joined.
So, Mosquito Lagoon, part of a system known as the Indian River Lagoon, which is 156 miles. The Indian River Lagoon is a very, very special place. It is probably the most diverse estuary in North America. So, terms. Estuary. What is an estuary? Any guesses out there? I'm pausing for an answer. I want brilliant answers or guesses, and nothing wrong with it. So what's an estuary? Anybody? An estuary is where salt water will meet fresh water. Okay, and normally that could be like, maybe the Mississippi River flowing into the Gulf of Mexico. You have that estuary system by New Orleans and all the way up. So fresh water meeting salt water. Here in Mosquito Lagoon, most of our fresh water will come from rain. We don't have any rivers or anything like that flowing into it. So it's a matter of rain. And then rain here is sort of seasonal. We always have rain, but the summer is definitely the rainy season. And then more in the winter and spring, we have less rain. But what's really interesting out here in the lagoon is that in April and May, we could have temperatures in the 90s with no rain. And so we get a lot of evaporation of the water, so the salinity of the lagoon will actually change. And in May, the salinity of Mosquito Lagoon can actually be greater than what it is out in the ocean. Now, if you look at the pilings in the water, we have a few birds sitting on that. Those are some of the terns that are coming in. We have year-round terns that will be here, and then also terns that migrate. And we'll talk a little bit more about terns later, but they're similar to pelicans in that they're a plunge diver. They'll dive from the air into the water going after their food. And we do have terns that will nest here during the winter, and that's called the least tern. Really small little bird. They only weigh about an ounce. So when you look at a lot of the birds, if you look at the bones and compare it to like a mammal, then you'll notice the difference in the weight of the bones, and that's because of the density and air pockets and everything like that. And for those that are interested in such things, if you're looking at birds, you are actually looking at modern day dinosaurs. They're the direct descendants without a break of the dinosaurs that were wiped out about 66 million years ago. So these are the only living dinosaurs that we have right now. Crocodiles and alligators and turtles, never a dinosaur, purely a reptile. So just a little tidbit out there. And back to the lagoon itself. A lot of diversity in the lagoon. This time of year we'll have manatee come out into the lagoon for feeding and having their young and everything. When the weather gets really cold, if it does, then they have to go to warmer water. Here what they do is they go about 18 miles south, and there's a power plant down in Titusville where they discharge the warm water. And that's where they'll go to hang out in periods of cold weather. The lagoon itself is very sensitive to temperature changes. Where we are right now is about 3 miles across, and the average depth of the lagoon is only about 3 or 4 feet. We have part of it that is deeper than that, and parts, of course, that are shallower, but a very shallow body of water. And so if you have a lot of warm days, then the temperature, of course, will go up. And then if you have cold days, then, of course, that temperature will go down also. Now, other animals that are in the lagoon, we have dolphin. They'll be here year-round. And this is the bottlenose dolphin. And bottlenose dolphin can or cannot be more than one species, depending upon who you talk to. That's always a raging debate. Actually, it's a raging debate on what is a species, and that could be a topic for another day. But the bottlenose dolphin that we have here tend to be a little bit smaller than the ones out in the ocean, and they tend to echolocate a little bit less. Probably because of the topography of the lagoon. You have a lot of sand, and those sonar waves that they would send out would bounce back and maybe cause a bit of confusion. And Laurie has a question.
And can you just explain echolocation to everybody that might not know exactly how that works?
Okay, echolocation is the ability to send out a sound signal, and then when it bounces back and comes back to you, then you have a receptor that will take that signal and translate it into a mental image of what you're looking at. So it's an auditory sense that will give you a picture similar in a way, though entirely different, than what your eyes will do to make the image that you see when you look around. And probably another animal that's really famous for that would be bats. Okay, bats have the ability to echolocate. But something that you may not know is that some people who are blind have developed the ability to echolocate by making a clicking sound. And what I found really intriguing about this is that the same organ that would interpret, or the receptors rather, that would interpret vision in a human, that same receptor will take the sound of those clicks and again make a mental image of what the sound is describing. So that's something that just recently, or as far as I know recently, has been starting to be studied and everything. But I find that fascinating that some people do have some type of an ability to echolocate also. But dolphin definitely do. Largest member of the dolphin family is orca, killer whale, and they definitely have the ability to echolocate also. There's some evidence, but we're not quite sure yet, that some baleen whales, and again we'll have to go into talk about the difference between a baleen whale and a toothed whale like a dolphin and orca. But a baleen whale is like a humpback whale, a blue whale, fin whale, gray whale. But one of the smaller baleen whales is a minke whale, and we have them up north in Maine and New Hampshire and Canada, also in Alaska. But it appears that they have some similar organs that may be used for a type of echolocation, maybe. We need to look at that a little bit more. And sperm whales also have the ability to use sound for a number of different things. I just thought of this. Have any of you seen the movie, what is it called? Dolphin Tail, Whale's Tail? What was the name of the movie? Whale's Tail? With Winter, the dolphin?
I think it's just Winter the Dolphin.
Winter the Dolphin? No, there was a movie about that. But anyway, Winter was rescued from where we are right now, about 5 miles to the north of us. She was caught in a crab trap for a blue crab. Fishermen found her and notified the Park Service, and actually one of our rangers who is still here in the park responded to that call along with Fish and Wildlife, and then Hubs came down from SeaWorld in Orlando and did the rescue, rehabilitated Winter, created a new tail for her. I think she ended up in the aquarium at Clearwater on the west coast of Florida, and I think she died a few years ago, and I think they took Himalayan salt and took her ashes and put it inside of a chamber or an urn made up of Himalayan salt, and then released it into the Gulf of Mexico. I'll have to Google that, or maybe someone out there could Google and see if I'm getting this right. I'm just somewhere in the back of my brain that just sort of popped in. Also, just thinking of dolphin and mosquito lagoon, someone, if you could, Google vaquita. V-A-Q-U-I-T-A. It's a porpoise found in the Gulf of California, body of water between Mexico and Baja California. I do believe that they are the most endangered dolphin porpoise whale in the world, and there is a mission to try to herd them and capture them and breed them in captivity at SeaWorld in San Diego. And they used 2 dolphins from Mosquito Lagoon that were rescued as infants, and then they ended up being used to find and gather and herd the vaquita to try to rescue them. I think there are only about 25 vaquita left in the world, but maybe someone could Google that and let us know if I'm actually getting that right or not. Other things in Mosquito Lagoon, all sorts of fish. They're famous for the redfish. Catching and consuming and eating. Also a lot of oysters and clams come from this area. And then also, you may not know it, but a shark will come in here to give birth to their young. And that's the bull shark, B-U-L-L. They'll come in here and use the mangroves as a sanctuary to give birth to their young. The young will hang out here for 3-4 years until they get about 3 or 4 feet long, and then they'll go out into the ocean. Also, we get a lot of teenager green sea turtles that will come in here. So sea turtle, once they hatch, they go out into the ocean. They hang out into the Sargassum Ocean, and then when they're a little bit larger, then they'll go into these estuaries and lagoons and stay out there until they're larger, and then they'll go back out in the ocean. It'll take a sea turtle about 15, 18, 20 years to reach sexual maturity. You may have heard that sea turtles will go back to the same beach that they hatched from. They have a sense of magnetism, where they go sort of have a map of the magnetic fields, and they use that to get back to that beach. They don't always go back to the same beach. And as a matter of fact, there's some evidence now that because of global warming and climate change, that they are now moving further north for nesting, because temperature of a nest will determine the sex of the turtle. And if the nests get too warm, then they'll have an overabundance of females and a lower abundance of the males. So we're not positive. We're still compiling that data, but right now the trend looks like there is a slow migration of the nesting sea turtles going north. But we'll have to spend a little bit more time looking at that. Now, there are problems in the lagoon with the health of the lagoon. We had a really nasty plankton bloom about 12 years ago, and that killed off over 50 to 70% of the sea grasses in the lagoon. And one problem with that is the manatee like eating the sea grasses, and with a lack of that, we're getting a lot of manatees that are starving. We've had over 2 years ago, we had over 130 manatee die in the lagoon area. This year, I don't know the numbers, but I would bet it's over 70 or 80. So that is a problem that we're really concerned with right now. The dolphins seem to be doing okay. During the time of that bloom, we did have a problem with them. Question?
No, Dawn actually Googled your question.
Oh, good, Dawn. Thank you.
And the vaquita population is 10 to 13.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. So, yeah, rarest marine mammal probably in the world, vaquita. I actually was privileged enough to see about 30 of them a couple of decades ago, but when I was, I've done a lot of trips down in the Sea of Cortez, Baja California, Gulf of California, in that area. And my specialty is marine mammals, so I did do a survey of vaquita a while ago, so sort of, actually not sort of, very depressing that there are only that number of them left in the world. And unfortunately, the program to catch them and breed them in captivity did not work. They do not do very well in captivity, so that was unfortunate. But thanks, Don, for doing that. Really appreciate it. One of the things about being out here is it's fantastic because we're out there. One of the bad things is I don't have my computer right in front of me where I could Google stuff like that. So thank you for that.
Can I just talk for a couple of minutes? Jay-Z, I don't know if you're still on, but I fully understand the importance of your going and making dinner for the house. Yes, I want to see you soon also. Maybe back in Maine next summer, you never know. But you can also come down here to Florida and check out some of this cool stuff in person. But I think, people are leaving to go to dinner, and so we'll be wrapping up pretty soon. But as I mentioned, the plan is to be doing this weekly, and I'll announce on Facebook when we decide we're going to do it. We'll be moving around to various locations within Volusia County, trying to bring little bits of it to you. But we are always available for any questions that involve nature. And Neil Can't thank you enough for sharing your wisdom. Hey, does anybody think that Neil reminds me of one of my family members, and maybe that's why I like him so much? But at any rate, Neil, do you want to say goodbye? And
I appreciate doing this. This is what I like doing, so it's always a treat for me to have the chance to do that. And I know I've probably said it a few times, but questions. I love questions, and this is how we learn. This is how you learn. It's how I learn. It's how Laurie learns. And also we'll be doing this, and we're going to talk about different things, whether we want to. We'll always be doing this on Facebook Live, but we also may be doing things on YouTube Live. We may be doing things on Twitch, different platforms, different types of people, and different advantages and different disadvantages. So we'll take a look at that and see what we want to do. And then also we'd like to have input on what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you want to do in the future. This is your thing. It's, in a way, we're the ones doing it, but you are the people that are guiding it. And so if you want to get closer to Kennedy Space Center and have a chance to see rockets up close, we could do that. If you want to go somewhere where we could look at manatee up close, we could also do that. Dolphin, plants, birds. This time of year, another couple of months or so will be fantastic for migratory birds coming in, and great things to look at in that regards. And I'm just about positive we're going to find a way to get a camera that could live feed with a zoom, so that when you're looking where these little birds are on the post, go ahead, go there, Laurie, if you don't mind. Laurie. I mean, that'd be a great picture to be able to zoom in a little bit and get the glint of the water and the sun and all of that. By the way, you may have heard, may not have, but we had flamingos about 3 miles from where we are right now in the middle of the lagoon. They aren't there right now, but
their mullet skimming across the surface.
Mullet jumping on the water, probably chasing somebody or being chased by somebody. And actually, really nice view off to our south now, with the clouds and the blue sky and the water. Something that's really nice about this area is the clouds. Everything changes minute by minute, and I'm always fascinated by that. Thunderstorms could come up in 2 or 3 minutes and then be gone in 10 minutes, or last for the entire day. You just never know out here. It's an ever-changing thing. And something for you to remember, where we are, Canaveral National Seashore. It is a national park. Guess who owns it? You do. It's your park. So Laurie and I are volunteers here, so we're working for you, though you don't pay us, that's okay. That's why we do it. But since we do work for you, then you are able to ask questions about your park, and we'll try to answer them for you. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up. And I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here, and hope you had a good time out there. Take care.
Hasta luego, kids. It was awesome. Thank you all. Oh, and let's see, Dawn, let's see. Yeah, the problem, Dawn is saying there are zoom lenses for the iPhone. The problem is I don't know if the sun is too bright for my camera. I just don't know, because it's when I move that I think you saw it today, losing focus. So I'm going to pull out my big girl cameras. You never know what I can finagle. You know, I'm an island girl. I can duct tape something together. Okay, again, thanks everybody. Oh, I should do a special thank you to our technical director and stage manager over there. Phil, can you wave just goodbye? We're saying goodbye. Thanks. Gracias, Don Te amo.